right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Our severe weather risk for Sunday afternoon has prompted us in an alert day. A slight risk for severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center, what that means, and the impacts we're looking at late Sunday.
Keeping cool from the extreme heat, our Verify team on how to keep the inside of your car cooler. But first, our top story.
When you see it all as a collective, the amount of donations and people that have showed up, it really has made me feel really good.
The special benefit for the children of a Jefferson County deputy who lost their mother in a deadly crash. But before we get to those stories, we are following breaking news. Police are on the scene of a double shooting near the intersection of Page Boulevard and Morton Avenue in Wellston. That is just west of Page and Skinker. The call came in just after 8:30 tonight. These are live pictures. We are told there are several blocks that are taped off. A number of officers are on the scene responding to crowd control. This is an active situation. We have not gotten any confirmation about how many people are injured, and once we do get this, we will pass that on to you. This is a developing story. You can stay up to date with all of the latest information on air, online, and on the 5 on Your Side app. Now to our other story. It has been more than 3 months since a devastating crash in Festus. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson. Today, an outpouring of support as the community joins forces to give financial support to the 4- and 9-year-olds who will grow up without their mother. Brent Solomon reports.
4-year-old Sawyer and 9-year-old Sienna have an inseparable bond.
She's bright, she's strong.
He's 4. He lives in the moment. High energy. That kid just loves to have fun.
Saturday afternoon, an outpouring of support as the community comes together to raise money for a trust fund for the brother and sister. It comes after the April 30th crash that claimed the life of their mother, Savannah McCreary. Her husband, former Jefferson County Deputy Colby McCreary, is charged with DWI and involuntary manslaughter. It can be a lot for young kids.
I don't think he fully understands everything, no.
She has moments where she'll be playing and all of a sudden, it kind of hits her like, oh, I'm sad. And anytime she gets in trouble, I miss my mom, but she's done well with it, She makes me proud. She's a good kid.
At the community fundraiser in Arnold, family and friends coming together to show love and support while taking part in a live and silent auction.
And we're talking some big ticket items here, like Jordan Bennington's former hockey stick and a guitar signed by Tim McGraw himself.
Loved ones impressed by the crowd that came to embrace them.
I didn't expect it at all. It's really going to help get Sienna through school.
We're going to do our best to make sure that these kids have a good foundation in life and can move forward. There's nothing that'll ever replace their mother. But this will definitely be something that they can look back on when they get older and say, community loved us.
Brent Solomon, 5 on Your Side.
And the children's father heads to court later this month. If you would like to support the family, you can donate by visiting this story in the As Seen on TV section of KSDK.com. Tonight, a woman is dead after a car overturned multiple times during a crash. It happened early this morning on Natural Bridge Road in the Pine Lawn neighborhood. According to the crash report, the driver was speeding and lost control of the car. 24-year-old Jaytana Brown was ejected from the car and died at the scene. The driver is expected to be okay. Tonight, we know more about an accident we have been following. Last night, police arrived to West Florissant and Davis Center around 8:30 for a crash involving a motorcycle and a truck. The driver of the motorcycle died at the hospital. Today, police identified him as Christopher James of O'Fallon, Missouri. Police say James struck the passenger side of the truck and was thrown from his bike. The driver of the truck was not hurt. Tonight, police are looking for the person responsible for shooting another man in Dutchtown. It happened around 11 last night on South Grand and Merrimack. The victim told police he was walking in the area when he was approached by another man who shot him multiple times. He is being treated in the hospital. He is expected to be okay. Well, it's time for our Weather First forecast. Here is a live look over downtown St. Louis. A beautiful night and a calm night after the stormy days we have had, but we may not be out of the woods just yet. Meteorologist Gary Frank, are we expecting more rain anytime soon?
Yeah, definitely tomorrow. We'll be dealing with our next alert day tomorrow, but I think we'll get through overnight with being at least pretty quiet as we head into the overnight hours. Still muggy out there as temperatures holding steady right now in the 70s, but as you look outside, we have cloud cover that's kind of hanging tough to some degree, but we also look at this big system which is kind of dragging some storms right now in Iowa, and that's all part of this system that's going to impact us here over the next few hours. Temps in the mid-70s. I think we're headed for the 60s tonight. In fact, some spots already very close to it, like Litchfield and Alton, but we're going to head for the 60s. I think the next few days is quiet for the next 15 to 24 hours, but then I think our severe weather risk arrives late tomorrow. So it is cool and quiet with temps in the upper 60s, but I think tomorrow we'll start to at least track the possibility for strong to severe storms. And that's what we're really going to look at ahead, because I think that as we're under a slight risk for severe weather, what that means for us as we even track a potential tornado threat for some of us as we head into portions of Sunday.
All right, Gary. Well, the summer's not over yet, and our area has seen its fair share of extreme heat. The temperatures can make the inside of your car feel like an oven. But tonight, our Verify team has a tip on how to keep the inside of your car cooler. Here's Brandon Lewis.
Verify here with your fast fact. Nobody enjoys that feeling when you open your car door on a hot summer day and it feels like an oven. Verify viewer M emailed us to ask if tinting her windows can help keep the inside cooler. So M, let's verify using these sources. The inside of a car gets hot because the sun's UV rays penetrate the glass. The energy from the rays is then absorbed by the surfaces and released as heat that gets trapped inside. All of our sources say tinting your windows can help block some of the sun's rays and keep the interior of your car a few degrees cooler. The exact amount depends on the darkness and quality of the tint and which windows are tinted. So, yes, tinted windows reduce heat inside of a car. Tinting rules vary by state, so make sure to check the laws where you live. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Walking and running for a good cause. Today, CareSTL Health hosted its annual 5K and 1 mile walk and run in Forest Park for opioid awareness. The Public Health Institute says drug overdose is the leading cause of unintentional deaths in the U.S. Event organizers also handed out brochures about available resources. Former Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate Trudy Bush Valentine also made an appearance. And we have a quick correction. Earlier, we reported that she is the CEO of CareSTL. That is not correct, and we apologize for the error.
10 years of rich history and beer. The special deals the St. Louis Beer Garden used to celebrate. And searching for solutions in Kansas City.
As a kid, I remember doing book reports and seeing movies and hearing stories about 18th and Vine.
How investors are hoping to bring the historically black neighborhood back to life.
Promoting positive self-image, wellness, and unity was the message behind today's 7th annual Miss Divine pageant. The event at the SLU Center for Global Citizenship featured young women across this region competing for the title of Miss Divine Destiny. It started in Jefferson City in 2014 after a 7th grade girl died by suicide. The pageant was a way to help boost girls' self-esteem and build lifelong friendships. Today marks 10 years since the creation of the beer garden at Anheuser-Busch. To celebrate, AB hosted a party. People enjoyed live music, food, and photos with the famous Budweiser Clydesdales. Other special promotions included 10% off tours. The beer garden is open weekends from 11 to 7.
As we look up to the northwest, we've got this big line of storms, but we also are looking ahead toward how that's going to impact us, not only overnight, but tomorrow specifically, how this brings our severe threat up over the next 15 to 24 hours.
Tonight, we return to Kansas City in our Searching for Solutions series. We explore how private and public investments are not only helping turn the city around, it's also helping bring historic neighborhoods back to life. Brent Solomon takes us to Kansas City's 18th and Vine District.
They say music molds memories.
So many things have been birthed from just this.
Kansas City native Christopher Nickens playing his saxophone in the historic 18th and Vine neighborhood, a part of the city that left its footprint on jazz music back in the 1930s and 40s. It's home to the American Jazz Museum, which attracts tourists from all over the world, 7 days a week. In 1991, the neighboring community that housed some 30 buildings was listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
As a kid, I remember doing book reports and seeing movies and hearing stories about 18th and Vine.
As he grew older, Joey Thomas noticed the community started to change.
10 years ago, a lot of blight, a lot of uncertainties in regards to what direction that the district was going in, a lot of lack of leadership. I seen business come and go.
In 2022, Kansas launched the Rebuild KC grant, providing $22 million for communities to take back their neighborhoods. This year, that energy continued with another $15 million investment from the city.
We're not going to turn our back anymore. We're going to make sure we're invested in every part of the community.
The private sector is also joining in as new apartments dot the landscape. As we continue to take a stroll throughout this historic community, we couldn't help but to notice a pattern of signs of intentional rebirth. There are plans to breathe new life into this former city workhouse castle, built in 1897. A developer wants to bring a boutique hotel and single-family homes here and across the street.
We could have Melina working the cashier.
We caught crews assembling for the grand opening of The Spot. It's not your average cafe.
It's a culinary workforce development program, or essentially a social venture. I saw this concept in Seattle.
So Chef Shanita McAfee Bryant brought it to her hometown.
So this is what would be the east side of Kansas City, Missouri. I think the median income in this area is between $18,500 to $27,000.
The cafe, housed in a former city utility building,
3, 2, 1, cut.
is allowing people who live here to get job skills through a 16-week training program called Prospect KC. $500,000 in city funding supports it.
I think he's one of the most amazing human beings to ever walk the face of this earth.
And then there's the Negro Leagues, which started right here in 1920, giving black baseball players an opportunity to play professionally.
This was a cultural crossroads in its heyday, 18th and Vine, right, where jazz and baseball intersected.
Now, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is looking to expand its 10,000 square foot space into this 30,000 square foot location just down the road, staying in the heart of where it all started.
When you think about taking advantage of this global, right, opportunity for our city and being able to introduce worldwide people who will be flying in to our brand new airport across the world and experiencing Kansas City's barbecue, the love of sports, soccer, but also the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum.
Expansion, investment, and keeping the history alive.
I think it helps us redefine what people may think about Kansas City. We get a lot of Dorothy and Toto jokes, all of that, whereas now they're saying this is a dynamic place with outstanding facilities, businesses, diversity, and growth.
Brent Solomon, 5 on your side.
Preserving black neighborhoods in St. Louis, that was the center of a powerful discussion today among community leaders. It was part of the Urban League's Back to School Expo. Organizers talked about 5 neighborhoods in St. Louis that share a lot of the same challenges, like abandoned buildings, lack of home ownership, and lack of funding. Those communities are the Ville, Pruitt-Igoe, Lewis Place, Mill Creek Valley, and the city of Kinloch.
There are some awesome neighborhoods in St. Louis, and there are awesome people that reside in these neighborhoods that is working every single day to improve it, to make it better for their children, their grandchildren, and also to just make the neighborhood vibrant again.
Organizers are hopeful the discussion empowered others to take pride in their neighborhoods and help keep it alive.
10:19, it's a quiet night, and we like it that way, especially as we look downtown. And temperatures are a little cooler, but it's still on the humid side as we continue to look at 75 degrees. Humidity has come down just a little bit, but I think it's going to be with us through tomorrow at least. We did get to 88 today, right on the nose, and pretty close to average. This was our last day. This was the first day that our average is 89. Now we go down through January. Not every single day, but that's the trend. We've already reached the statistical hottest portion of the year. We go down from here. Now, one thing that's kept us cooler is cloud cover, and we look at these storms. Let's call this part one. It's filling in through central Kansas. That part dives south, but I think as it drags here, that may be responsible for clouds and a few light showers by mid-morning or just right after sunrise. So we'll look at that, and I'll show you what that may look like. Overnight, relatively dry. 4, 5, 6 o'clock, still dry. But as you look at the first part of the day, there may be a few showers around. That's going to maybe mitigate our severe threat, but just want to keep that in mind. I think temps are going to drop down into the upper 60s, and you look to the north, my goodness, we've got 50s and 60s throughout, and that has to do with this front that's going to settle in, and of course, behind it has been responsible for round 2, and that's what's going to be responsible for severe weather threat. Now, just after 10 o'clock, the severe weather threat has ended. That was the tornado watch that was in place, but this spin is all part of this cold front, and it will drive south and bring us our opportunity for severe weather later on, and that's where I think, as a reason, the Storm Prediction Center has got us in a slight risk for severe weather, and most of us. I think that may change a little bit. That may be expanded even more, but I think the main threats are going to be the fact that we have storms that will develop, and wind is the main threat. But as you look at storms developing by the peak heating of the day, if we don't get that cloud cover early, I think we'll see a few more of these storms develop into the afternoon and evening, and that's why it's an alert day. The timing is between 2 and 10 o'clock with wind gusts over 60 miles an hour as our main threat. It seems like we can almost set our watch to it almost every weekend or the last few days, but there will be a brief tornado possible as well, and I think that's something that we really need to monitor, especially tomorrow, depending on how much cloud cover is around. But I still think that there's enough spin that some of those brief tornadoes are possible. So we'll really watch that, but it's still going to get to 89 with storms late, and then showers around only 80. Then we're in the mid-80s here as we head into the next few days, and then another severe weather threat on Wednesday, and that's a second alert day. So otherwise, it's cooler in general, but we'll be talking about some interesting weather, I think, 24 hours from now.
Oh, boy, but at least it's going to be cooler.
Cooler, especially tomorrow morning, and then we'll try to get rid of that humidity for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Corey's here with what's next in sports.
Well, the Cardinals had quite a bit to cheer about over at Busch Stadium tonight, and Coach Eli Drinkwitz had quite a bit to say about the current state of college athletics. You'll want to hear it after the break with sports.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
Steven Matz is well on his way to being due quite a few apologies from Cardinals fans. Well, of course, it looks like too little too late for this season. Matz is finishing with a flourish, and he kept up his hot streak tonight against Colorado. In his last 5 starts, Matz had an ERA of 1.69. He continued to lower it tonight. Tyler O'Neill started the scoring, gets a hold of this one, and goes into the Rockies bullpen. He's been great since coming off the IL. Matz had some defensive help in his 6-inning 1-run performance. Paul Goldschmidt converts this juggling act for an impressive out. Cards added on later. Wilson Contreras gets into one that drives home a pair with a double. And Tommy Edman, he liked it so much he would do the same thing an inning later. Cardinals win 6-2. It's the franchise's 10,000th win as the Cardinals, and Matz continued his masterful stretch.
Awesome to see. He's done a tremendous job. He continues to just pitch with an edge. And obviously, the velo's up, which is helpful. That's a big contributor to his success. So overall, just the mix was really good. I thought he worked well with Willie behind the plate. But again, really, really nice outing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Air Coryell has landed in Canton.
A long time wrong was righted today in Canton. Late St. Louis football Cardinals and San Diego Chargers coach Don Coryell got his place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Coryell was one of the most important offensive minds in the history of the NFL. He coached in St. Louis from 1973 to 1977 and died in 2010. Coryell was presented by his former Chargers quarterback Dan Fouts and his daughter Mindy.
The hardest thing for me, my brother, and the rest of our family is to challenge what my dad would have said if he were here. What I'm sure of is that he'd be humbled, grateful, and maybe just a bit surprised that his legacy has lived on for all these years and is now forever recognized as being worthy of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
It's not too much of a stretch to say the past 24 hours have been some of the wildest in the history of college sports. It's open season for conference jumping, and teams are fleeing the Pac-12 like it's a sinking ship. Just take a look at this map of the new realities in college sports. Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC, well, they're moving to the Big Ten. That means Oregon and Maryland, separated by the entire continental United States, that's going to be a conference game. Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State are joining the Big 12, so an Arizona-UCF game will soon be a conference game as well. If it seems like madness, you're not the only one who thinks so. Mizzou head coach Eli Drinkwitz had a pretty strong take on the current state of college sports today at practice.
All right, I'm going to say it. I thought the transfer window, I thought the portal was closed. Oh, that's just for the student athletes. The adults in the room get to do whatever they want, apparently. We're talking about a football decision. They based off football, but what about softball and baseball, who have to travel cross country? Still, we count the cost of the collateral damage of everybody else. I don't know. Only time will tell, but that is my biggest, like, looking at it going 24 hours after, say, did we really think about that? I don't think we did.
Definitely some wild times in college sports.
He doesn't mince any words.
He doesn't,
does
and
he?
I like it. He's good for a soundbite, too.
He sure is. All right, Corey, thanks so much. And thanks so much for joining us at 10. Saturday Night Live is next. Be sure to join us for Today in St. Louis starting at 6 a.m. Have a great evening.